All right, so in our last module, we basically built the human body from the ground up, right? From tiny subatomic particles all the way up to the entire breathing organism. Well, in this explainer, we're going to figure out how that complete organism actually operates. We spent a lot of time putting the pieces together, but now it's time to hit the on switch.
You've already mastered the microscopic and macroscopic buildup. We mapped that whole journey, from those tiny subatomic particles up to tissues, into organs, and finally to the complete organism standing before us. But now, we're faced with the ultimate biological question. How do all these static parts actually do the dynamic work of living?
To make studying these 11 highly complex systems manageable, we're going to organize them into 6 distinct functional groups, chunking them by their ultimate physiological purpose. We've got body covering, support and movement, integration and coordination, transport, absorption and excretion, and finally, reproduction. Let's just tackle them one by one.
Okay, first up is Group 1, body covering, the body's absolute first line of defense.
The sole member of this group is the integumentary system. Now, we usually just think of our skin, hair, and nails as, a static wrapper keeping everything inside, but it's actually an incredibly dynamic and vital boundary. Your skin actively regulates your body temperature through sweat glands and subtle shifts in blood flow. It physically houses the sensory receptors so you can feel a sudden breeze or a sharp poke. And get this, it even synthesizes vital hormones. For instance, without your skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight, your skeletal system literally wouldn't be able to absorb the calcium it needs. So yeah, it's a highly active, living shield.
Moving inward, we hit Group 2, support and movement. Basically, our framework and physical action.
Think about it. Without this functional group, the organism would literally just collapse under the weight of gravity. It provides the rigid protection our delicate internal organs desperately need, like your skull shielding your brain or your ribcage guarding your heart and lungs. It also gives us the intricate mechanical levers required to translate energy into complex physical movements, and it's absolutely crucial for generating the internal body heat that keeps us alive.
So, the skeletal and muscular systems work side by side to accomplish these massive goals. Your muscles are doing the heavy lifting, generating movement, maintaining your posture against gravity, and creating that vital body heat through constant microscopic contractions. Meanwhile, the skeletal system is quietly performing these incredibly vital background tasks. Your bones aren't just dry sticks, they're highly active living tissues. Deep inside the marrow, they're constantly churning out new blood cells. Plus, they act like a massive vault, storing essential inorganic salts like calcium and phosphorus that the rest of your body, especially your nervous and muscular systems, absolutely depend on to function. Next up is Group 3, integration and coordination. These are the command and control centers of the body.
Management in the body is basically split into 2 totally distinct styles. The nervous system, that's your rapid response team. By detecting changes, interpreting complex sensory info, and instantly stimulating muscles or glands, it acts fast. Then you have the endocrine system. This system manages the longer-term metabolic activities using chemical messengers called hormones, which are secreted by glands like the pituitary, thyroid, and pancreas. So, think of the nervous system as high-speed fiber optics, firing electrical signals in fractions of a second, while the endocrine system is more like a highly targeted, slightly slower postal service, ensuring sustained, systemic changes over hours, days, or even years.
Okay, so we have a command center, but now we need a delivery network. That brings us to Group 4, transport, moving essential materials.
We've got 2 primary systems forming this network. The cardiovascular system acts as your main highway. Driven by the heart, it forcefully pumps your blood to transport dissolved gases, nutrients, hormones, and clear out cellular wastes. But running right parallel to that is the lymphatic system. By returning leaked tissue fluid back to the bloodstream and carrying absorbed fats from your diet, it carefully manages your precise fluid balance. But crucially, it's also an unbelievable defense against infection. Organs like your lymph nodes and spleen are constantly filtering out pathogens and housing aggressive immune cells. It's essentially the cleanup crew and elite security working right alongside that main transport highway.
Now we're at a really critical juncture in our functional blueprint. Group 5, absorption and excretion, processing inputs and outputs.
All right, I need you to stop right here and grab your study guide. Seriously, pause for a second. I need you to explicitly write down the 3 specific organ systems that make up this category. Categorizing these correctly is highly testable and totally foundational to understanding physiological exchange.
Make sure you note that absorption and excretion includes the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the urinary system. You got them written down? Awesome. Let's see how they operate.
Looking at how these three manage our physiological economy, the division of labor is super clear. The digestive system handles the rigorous physical and chemical breakdown of food, absorbing those vital nutrients directly into your bloodstream while eliminating the unabsorbed solid waste. The respiratory system? That's managing continuous gas exchange across millions of tiny alveoli, pulling in vital oxygen and kicking out toxic carbon dioxide. And finally, the urinary system is basically your fluid management plant. Your kidneys are relentlessly filtering wastes from the blood, carefully balancing your fragile electrolytes, and critically regulating your overall blood volume and pressure.
Finally, we reach our last functional group, Group 6, Reproduction, ensuring the continuation of the species.
Unlike the other groups, this one focuses not on the survival of the individual organism, but on the continuation of the species as a whole. The male and female reproductive systems utilize highly specialized organs to produce, maintain, and transfer specialized sex cells. These distinct complementary physiological processes, which are heavily regulated by the endocrine system, ultimately come together to support delicate embryo development and meticulously manage the wildly complex biological sequence of childbirth.
Okay, now I need you to make a major mental shift. Even though we just beautifully categorized these 11 systems into 6 nice, neat groups for your notes, you absolutely have to understand that biologically, they are completely interrelated. They never operate in isolation. They are biologically inseparable, constantly working together to maintain a highly stable internal environment, a vital state we call homeostasis.
Let's look at a concrete example of this crosstalk. The nervous system absolutely relies on the cardiovascular system for a constant, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose. If that cardiovascular delivery stops for even a few minutes, nervous tissue literally begins to die. But flip it around. The cardiovascular system relies on the nervous system, specifically regions in the brainstem, to regulate its pumping rate and adjust to whatever the body is demanding at that moment. They are locked in a continuous life-or-death loop of mutual dependence. And this brilliantly illustrates our second example, blood pressure regulation. This is a complete team effort across 3 totally different systems, meaning if one fails, the others are immediately impacted. The nervous system rapidly changes the diameter of your blood vessels. The cardiovascular system directly changes how hard your heart muscle actually beats. And the urinary system steps in over the long term to manage the actual fluid volume in the blood. So those neat, clean boundaries we draw for study purposes, they totally vanish in the reality of a living body striving for homeostasis.
Keep this profound interdependence in mind, because it sets the stage perfectly for our next module, where we are going to explore the fundamental characteristics of life itself. How do all these beautifully categorized yet deeply entangled systems actually define what we call a living being? What are the universal traits that separate this working biological machine from just inanimate matter? We are going to tackle that fascinating question next time.